Well, hey everybody, this is Chris DeFurio with Keys to the Shop. Welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Today's episode is brought to you by La Marzocco. Our friends there have been making espresso machines in Florence by hand since 1927. Now, those folks have been innovators. They have been a cornerstone of the industry for quite a long time. In terms of machines, La Marzocco are the quintessential espresso machine because of their dependability, beauty, and innovation. KB90 espresso machine, for instance, has the straight-in locking portafilter technology developed for ergonomics. You've got the Linea, which is the classic that we all know and love. You've got the Linea PB with the technology of today that allows the barista ultimate control over the shots they extract. And everywhere in between, technologically advanced or very simple, small and large, La Marzocco has what you need. So you need to go to lamarzocco.usa.com, or you could just reach out to them directly. Talk to one of their salespeople. They'll help get you fitted with the right espresso machine for your cafe. info@lamarzocco.usa.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at rattleware.com. So Rattleware has been a business, or it's been a brand for quite a long time. It is one of those brands that develops smallwares that function in the background to help your platform, your art and craft really shine. Because when smallwares work, it's great, but when they don't work, it's a big deal. And that's what they love to do, is create products that are kind of upholding the industry, whether it's knock boxes or whisks and pitchers and shot glasses and things like that. You need to check them out at rattleware.com. Now, today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about something that owners need to be aware of. And I think this is probably one of the topics that comes up in every conversation with one of my clients at some point, whether it's right away in the beginning or it's somewhere in the middle of our time together. It is relevant because time and attention is the number one resource that we have to leverage for the success of our business and the people that function in our businesses and ourselves. The problem is that we tend to spread ourselves too thin across a lot of different areas of the business based on reacting to the issues that pop up. So it feels like you're playing that game of whack-a-mole. One gets knocked down, the other one pops back up. You're fighting fires. Insert your metaphor here for a futile act. You could say it's like Sisyphus pushing the stone uphill. It just never stops. Now, here I want to tell you that there is a way to get control, and it's basically a way that is initially dissatisfying, and it's something that all of us, even if you don't identify yourself as a procrastinator, you might identify as a perfectionist. You might identify as somebody who's just too busy to do that. You could make it sound any which way you want. But progress when you're busy is not going to happen in one fell swoop. If you find that you're under focusing on important areas and over focusing on an enormous variety of fires, but you don't feel like you're getting ahead, and it's because there's a time management issue. And the issue is that we have not crafted our time as though it was one of probably the most important time-based tool in the business. You as the owner are the one who writes the checks. You have the ultimate authority. You can say yes or no to just about anything that happens. Therefore, your clarity of mind and ability to think well and be thoughtful about the decisions you make is probably the most important part of making decisions. And so you need time to do that. You need to get control of your calendar. And if that means getting some things out of the way or adjusting the business to sort of bend to your calendar so that you can have margin, that ultimately is what you need to do. Now, I'll tell you that you'll probably end up doing that one way or another. You might make yourself sick, and then you have to sit down. And that's not noble. That's just a warning sign. If you work yourself sick and then you've got to take a day off, you could have taken that day off, but you need to give yourself permission when you're healthy so that you can use that time to gain that clarity and margin to use for the benefit of everybody else, as obviously yourself included. So there is a need to get organized as an owner, and that means that you have to have a schedule for yourself that takes your time and basically distributes it week per week the way you would want somebody who you're paying to do. If you're paying somebody a lot of money, you want them to use their time wisely. Because you don't necessarily pay yourself, it's somehow okay for you to not use your time wisely, or at least not to account for that time or plan it well. So the trick is sometimes to think of yourself as an employee of yourself. And if you were doing the job that you're supposed to be doing and paying yourself to do it, how would you want that to be organized? Now, the issue here is one about time chunking. So taking certain things that you need to do every week that are basic business things. They are it's payroll, it's ordering, and whatever it else you have on the big picture front and the back of the business that needs to get done. Those things need to have a home on your schedule. Now, around those things, you're going to have other items that are big pieces of your schedule, like nurturing relationships of those that you employ who are, for instance, managers. Those are the people you support. If you don't have managers, then it's your staff, it's your baristas, things like one-on-ones, following up with a promise that you made to call the HVAC company or to get something replaced that you promised the baristas would get replaced that week, but you haven't had the quote unquote time to do that. And so it doesn't get done, and we erode trust because we can't even trust that we know we're going to have time to do these things, but we kind of think we're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen. And so it just doesn't happen because it doesn't make its way on the schedule. There's many times with people I'm coaching where we will talk about, okay, now, and we did this actually, by the way, in the workshop at Coffee Fest. I say, well, what's the next step? Where is it going to go on your calendar? Now put it on that day, write it out, type it out, put it on Tuesday at 2:30. I am going to this, and you will only focus on that and you will get it done. And then you move on to something else and you get that done. But what that is has to be based on the ever-present and regular rhythm of the business. Like I mentioned before, the always and forever stuff related to the business, the payroll and other things. But then there are projects and things related to the values and relationships and growth of your business. Those projects don't get just done in one session. They need to be broken out across many different weeks. And you need to be able to know that you're making progress one step at a time. In the beginning of this shift break, I mentioned that progress when you're busy doesn't just happen in one fell swoop. And so you've got to take it one step at a time, one chunk at a time. And so that means getting a calendar, getting a schedule going for yourself that you write weekly, where all of the important things have a home. And the big part of this, it doesn't work unless you do this, is you actually have to follow what you write. The exercise of writing things down, and I'm very well versed in this, lists are kind of my thing. And I make lists and I say, okay, this is what I have to accomplish today. And then you get shiny object syndrome, or you get called away and you justify not making your list and doing the things you know you should do and you could have done. That's the clincher here, okay? You know you could have done it technically, physically, you could have typed it out, sent it, but you're doing something else important. And it's not like I wasted time. I did something important. But then later on, you kind of beat yourself up. Oh man, I didn't do that thing. Because, well, that's the life of a business owner. That's the life of somebody who's busy. And that kind of washes away some of that guilt, but it doesn't go away completely. It sort of builds this layer that allows you to feel good for a second, but later on, it makes you a little bit more numb and less responsive to the things that you need to be sensitive to in the business. And so now is the time to determine that you're going to take a small step to get control of your time and start carving out time as if your time was important and valuable. And if you're not making a schedule for yourself and you're just walking into the cafe and allowing the business to simply tell you what to do, and there's no plan or system to that, then you're not treating your time like it's valuable. and people know it. And so they're going to say, well, if it's up to me to determine what your time is spent doing, then I will tell you what to do with your time. So that's where we need to get balance. Burnout happens when we have high expectation and low control. We've talked about that with managers, where we talk a big game about what we expect managers to do, but then we don't give them any authority or time or resource to do it. But here's the thing, you do that to yourself as well. We do that to ourselves all the time. We say, I have big plans, we have big goals, we have mission, vision, values, we have this, that, and the other, but then we don't give ourselves the resources to do it. And what we're left with is saying, well, it's just life. It's the universe. It's this generation. It's what, fill in the blank. Whatever it is, it's certainly not because I haven't sat down and written a schedule and followed it and been disciplined about my time. And if you just have to use this as a form of self-care, you have to view this as a form of protecting the asset. As the business owner, you are the asset in the business that makes things happen, and you have the ultimate authority. And therefore, if your time is not used well, then it kind of trickles down from there, if you will, or it doesn't, you're not able to support the business as well. And certainly you're not going to gain the fulfillment and joy from the business as you would like to. And you're going to start seeing the business as this gigantic burden, become embittered towards the needs of the business that are just normal. These are just normal needs, but they become magnified and triggering when we feel like it's just one more thing that is just going to make us snap. And that is a sign that we've gotten to that burnout stage. But it's not because you have just been in this situation where there's the impossibility of organization. It's because we haven't given ourselves the permission to organize and to decide, I am going to carve this time out for this thing, and I am going to discipline myself to do this thing. And a funny thing happens when you do that, you get more done, and you can close that chapter. You can close that loop, open loop in your head. David Allen, who wrote the book Getting Things Done, talks about open loops. He talks about the psychic RAM that you have that's just crammed full of all of this junk. And when you can close those things out and put it into a system, and then you can trust the system, then you can have the freedom to use your mind for what he says your mind was actually designed for, which is ideas. And I would add, your mind is also used for connecting with other minds and being sensitive once more to the needs of the business and feeling empowered yourself to respond very well, not react, not jump, this buildup of angst, but respond thoughtfully because you have the room to think, because you've gotten organized. And it just takes one step to do that per week. Add a little bit more, cultivate, create, carve out, and watch how things start to kind of form around your needs, and you can start to fulfill the needs of others as a result, as you live by example. It's just kind of something that I personally have benefited from, and I'm by no means perfect at it at all, but I've also seen my clients benefit from this, and it's a process. So take the first step to get organized, and you will see the benefit accrue over time as you are disciplined to show up for yourself so that you can show up for others. Okay, so that's it for today's Shift Break. I hope that was helpful, and as always, I'll see you here next week on another edition of Shift Break, from Keys to the Shop.